Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the season premiere of Arrow. A great season premiere. A lot of stuff went down, so let's kind of break everything down. First of all, we have Oliver trying to keep his head down low. Pretty hard when you got a few villains, and literally every prisoner is looking at you every time you go sit down to eat because everyone knows who you are. So that's got to be pretty tough on his own. He's eating on the loan, but there's that whole storyline with that dude, which that actor, I recognize him because he's in so many different things, but he's coming to Oliver for help because, oh, you're the Green Arrow and everything. It's like, oh yeah, I almost couldn't recognize you. He's like, oh, you filled the city, imitating him and stuff like that. But Oliver's just kind of like, leave me alone. It's a combination of the fact is Oliver hopes to be by keeping his head down, by being good, no incidents, not causing any trouble, then eventually maybe he can lower his sentence, and then he'll eventually be able to go home, get back to William and Felicity. So because of that, he's not trying to get involved with that dude. Plus, if that dude gets involved with him, it's just going to cause you more trouble. It's like you think you're in trouble now just being by yourself. Like, oh, I have a hard time surviving in prison. You're going to have an even harder time surviving if you're like rolling with the Green Arrow. That's just going to make you an even bigger target. But at the same time, it's like, hey, if I'm with Green Arrow, no one's going to mess with me. That's kind of the thought process. I mean, there's only certain people that have actually tried to kill him. Mainly, it was like either people hired by Diaz or villains that have encountered him. All the other like Joe Schmoes of the prison haven't messed with him because it's like, yeah, we know what he's capable of. Let's not forget he's taken down a lot of people that have come out there saying, I'm not going to be the one to try and take on a Green Arrow. Bump that. You know, that's the thought process I have at the very least. So. But you even have like John visiting him and stuff, being like he knows how hard this is all going to be on Oliver, not just physically because Oliver could take it, but it's the mental aspect of like Oliver not fighting back. He's like, that's not who you are. But Oliver's like, I've done everything. I've always done what I had to do, and this is just one more thing if it means getting back to the people I love. So. It's kind of a rough situation. Obviously, the guards. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It kind of leaves you a little conflicted because you're like, you think you'd be a little bit more kind of receptacle to the whole aspect of like, it's Green Arrow in here. Maybe we should cut him a little slack or something. But it's like, I think it's a whole power tripping thing of like, ha ha ha, you're such a hero, such a vigilante, blah blah blah. But look where you are. But I'm wondering will we actually see any Agent Watson this season or not? We've heard about her. I don't know if we'll actually see her or not because the whole hunt for Diaz isn't going well. It's been 5 months basically of all of this, so because that's why Oliver's trying to like what he's the most worried about is the whole aspect of Diaz because no one knows where he is. Even Diggle's catching a little flack from Argus because when it comes to Argus because he's using a lot of their resources to try and track down Diaz, which I can understand to a certain extent. Like the organization that Argus is, it's like we deal with a lot of top priority stuff. This isn't just about one person. Like Diaz is kind of small fry, which is kind of like I don't really know about that. Considering the fact is he kind of last season kind of built up his empire. Granted, a lot of that got chopped down, but he still has a lot of the connections he had from that cabal that he ended up joining and basically taking over almost entirely. But the fact of the matter is it's going to be like a little hard to give that to the higher ups and being like, yo, like this guy's a threat. But it's like, no, we have other things we should be prioritizing, not just Diaz. He's small fries in comparison, like I said. So turns out Curtis is actually working there R&D, which is interesting. At the same time, it's very beneficial. I guess like the whole like him and Felicity's business couldn't really go forward. Considering the whole like she's in witness protection and everything, so kind of hard to run a business when your business partner is gone. So I kind of had to find a different avenue. Things between him and Nick seem like they're still doing well because like he was talking about going on a date with Curtis, so that's pretty good. Renee's working at a center with Zoe's there and training the kids in the glades and stuff like that. And there's been no vigilantes for the past 5 months as well, just because the laws that are kind of in place. Which it leaves everyone very conflicted. It is kind of interesting because even we didn't actually see much of her this episode, but Laurel, because even Dinah was kind of like, yeah, Laurel's probably got her own motives for it, but to be fair, like what she said is kind of true. Like we don't need to be going all vigilante because it's like if there's any hint of us all going vigilante, like that's going to lead to our deal, like our immunity deals being revoked, and it's like, then what was it that Oliver sacrificed all this for? So. But that leaves like Renee conflicted because he sees that the kids in his at the center are scared because it's like crime has been going up because like everyone knows that the Green Arrow is gone and the vigilantes have gone silent too. So crime has been kind of running a lot more rampant. And at the same time, it's a thing of like, Renee wants to do something, but he can't. It's like he's trying to train the kids to be able to defend themselves and protect the people they love, but it isn't meant to just outright create violence. He stops that kid from buying guns, which proceeds with Renee kicking some ass hand to hand until the wannabe Green Arrow shows up, which we still walked away from this not knowing it. And I love that they kind of pointed at it too, because I was like, because I made a video a while back being like, oh, like who could the Green Arrow be? And I love the whole situation of even Renee being like, in all honesty, I was so certain it was Diggle. So I was like, that like everyone kind of had that in the back of their mind. Even, that was one of the people I was like, yeah, most likely I thought it was going to be Diggle, but it's like, I don't know, it didn't seem like it would be. And it turns out it is not. So I'm curious to find out who it is, who's picked up the mantle. Yeah, also that was kind of interesting, kind of circling back to the whole Oliver in jail situation, is the fact is that that dude was kind of calling him a coward because it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to be in here. He's in there because he was found guilty of a murder he didn't commit. And he's saying, like, I have a family. I get it. You're trying to get back to your family, because Oliver just left him to get the crap beat out of him. I was thinking Oliver would turn around at that last second, but it's like he couldn't take a chance because all he's focused on right now is his family and getting back to them. And so the guy's calling him a coward and everything. It's like, dude, come on. Like, it does leave you conflicted because it's like, yeah, he's like a hero. He's supposed to be looking out for you. He's supposed to be looking out for those who can't defend themselves and stuff like that. But at the same time, it's like, I mean, he's kind of in the same boat as you, So I just kind of felt bad that he was calling Oliver a coward and stuff like that. Pretty impressive, Oliver, that whole freaking shower scene. It's like, oh yeah, you're pretty much fighting butt naked. That's interesting. That's got to be a first. And kicking ass too. I did not see the whole I'm like severely all over the place, so I do apologize. For one, I thought it was kind of interesting, the whole Felicity new identity and everything. Aaron, it's kind of interesting. Like, obviously the aesthetic's a little bit different, but like the piercings and the dyed hair made me think of her hacktivist days. Obviously she was more like goth, I guess would be, because I was thinking maybe pop punk, but like punk, it's like, no, that was definitely goth. But it's kind of like she's kind of got like that punk aesthetic in this regard. So I thought that was kind of like, I don't know. I'm assuming it's supposed to be kind of more like a nod to her, like her, gosh, what is it? Like I said, her hacktivist days. I did not expect to see Diaz actually show up like that. I was like, wait, is this like because Oliver kept having a dream or something. I was like, no, this gotta be so. It's like for him to show up like that. No, he's literally there. And it's like, oh, Felicity tried to fight back, but it just, apparently Argus just happened to show up in time. It's like, dude. And I love that they kind of leave it up and like for a second make you go, wait, what, like, how did she get out of that situation for her to show up like that? But it's like, that's insane. Because Oliver wanted to call to check on his family, but home dude wouldn't let him. So I wonder, how did Diggle know to come? Like, maybe William warned him at some point in time or got in contact with him. Like, how did Argus know to show up then? Because it's just like, I wasn't expecting Diaz to actually show up to do that. Like, I thought that was all going to just be dream stuff. Turns out not to be the case. You have whoever this new guy is. He is pretty damn skilled. And honestly, we hadn't actually seen him really do any hand-to-hand combat. Like, all his fighting has been just with his, like, using his bow and arrow and tossing and flinging people around. So it was kind of interesting. Like, I just thought about, we didn't see that. But there is ultimately, the conversation, the divide between Renee and Dinah, which I think is interesting. Because Renee's kind of like, we can do so much better as, vigilantes. But it's kind of interesting because Dinah's perspective of, like, us doing what we're doing, we need to get the city to have faith in the cops again because, especially after everything went down, like with the dirty cops last season and now this, it's like trying to rebuild that faith. But also it's just like the crime rate's too high. It's too much for just the cops alone to handle. Also, there's a whole legal side of things. Like, they can't really do anything, but Dinah's trying her best to go down that route because it's just kind of like there's so much on the line here. It's like ensuring that, that every cop is, doing the right thing, doing their duty and trying to protect the city, but also like, looking out for not just her, but her other fellow vigilantes like Renee and Curtis, because if they do this, it also undoes all that Oliver sacrificed for, and it's just going to end them up in jail. So she's trying to follow the law. I mean, before all this vigilante stuff, she was a cop. And I think that's also another perspective of it, that maybe that's what they're hinting at. It's like Dinah's kind of going back to her roots to a certain degree, because she started the whole vigilante thing as revenge for Vincent. So now it's kind of like, now she's kind of left that behind, because it's like, okay, this is where I need to be, like, you know, on the right path of following the law. That's where I started at, and that's where I'm going to pick my path up again. It's the right thing to do. So it's very interesting. Like I said, I find it fascinating because this show is the only show that really has to deal with the whole vigilante thing. Everywhere else, it's like, oh, superhero saving the day. You know, it's not that big of a deal. The closest comparison would be like, oh, Black Lightning's dealing with that, you know, in certain regards. And also, Jimmy's kind of literally going through that same situation right now as Guardian. I just thought about that. I wasn't even thinking about it when I was watching the episode, but I just thought about it just now. It's like, oh yeah, he cannot be Guardian anymore, because if he does any future stuff as Guardian, he will be prosecuted for it, much like they can't be vigilantes. That didn't stop Renee from dressing up like Wild Dog and helping out the fake Green Arrow escape. It seems like he ended up getting a flash drive that has all, like, Stint, the guy he ends up taking down this episode, all the information that's up there, because it looks like he's got a list of his own, which is very interesting, because that's very, like, that's what Oliver started off at. So it's almost like they kind of, like, if you're familiar with the show Once Upon a Time, they kind of, like, their final season is kind of like a soft reboot, and it almost seems like they're kind of doing it to a certain degree in many different regards, but I'll kind of break that down more in a little bit. But it's like, it's so fascinating, because, like, now it's like we've kind of got it going full circle, because now someone else is taking up that mantle, and they have, like, a list of her own, and I'm so curious, like, what that's all about. Because whoever this is kind of on their own, which is interesting, which is something Oliver tried to do in the later parts of last season, kind of handle things on his own, kind of go back to his roots, who he was at the beginning. So, and I think that's going to play a role in it. The reason why Oliver became the better hero that he was because he had this team, he had people surrounded who helped him take on this mission. So, is that going to make this Arrow better or worse because he's on his own? And, you know, I mean, technically he won't be. Well, Renee wants to help him out and everything, because, you know, I love Renee being like, oh, because Dinah's like, oh, like, did you notice there's some cash missing? And there's like, oh yeah, some people, some mom and pop shops that were a little hard for cash, all suddenly kind of got money that came from that sting operation. It's like, and Renee's like, oh man, that's crazy. I wouldn't have any idea about it. But I mean, I'd say whoever did it was a hero. But Dinah's clear, like, if she sees Renee dress up as Wild Dog again, she will not hesitate to take him down. It's like, dude, that's rough. Like I said, it's a very complicated situation. It's like you kind of go like, you guys did so much good, but with the way things stand right now, it's kind of like vigilantism will just cause more problems than good potentially. It's just, I don't know. Don't know if currently there is a right answer for this situation. Especially for Oliver, you know, like, oh, Felicity's back, but she's going to stick around. She's not going back into witness protection, even though he's begging her, because it's like, this is what I've done this all for. She's sending William away to, like, a boarding school to keep him safe, because she's not going to run anymore. She's going to fight back, because it's like Diaz is going to come after him. Because, you know, when it's all said and done, it's also something I think I've brought up before, but I'm going to bring it up here. It's the whole aspect of, like, even if Oliver gets out of this, like, even when he gets out of jail, people are still going to come after him no matter what, because they will always know Oliver Queen is the Green Arrow. Like, that's always going to be a staple. So now it's like, I mean, I honestly don't know how they plan on, like, because that's the most thing I'm so curious about, like, what they have planned for this season. I have no idea. Like I said, the one trailer I saw was all stuff from this first episode, so I have no idea what the rest of the season's going to play like. It's very interesting because we had the whole Lee and Yu situation, and we saw that older dude, and I was like, no, wait. They're not doing what I think they're doing, and it turns out they are. The whole flash forward thing, I think I had talked about that before in certain regards. If you're unfamiliar, it's kind of similar to Lost, because Lost kind of did a thing similar to that. It ended up being something different, but it kind of worked in a similar manner. The flashbacks changed in Lost. Let's just leave it at that. Well, in certain regards, because it was kind of like a flash. Yeah. Like I said, I won't get into it. So it's interesting. So it seems like we're flashing forward quite a few years, because it seems like, you know, well, probably, I don't know, like William's older. We end up seeing him running into an older Roy, which also begs the question, why is Roy on Lee and Yu? What led William to go to Lee and Yu? Like, Does this have something to do with his dad? Did his dad like break out and just like to kind of leave it all behind? He had to go to like I don't know. Because last time we saw Roy, he was on that whole mission with Nissa and Thea trying to deal with the whole the other Lazarus pits that kind of existed. That whole situation. So the fact is he's there potentially by himself. I'm sure maybe there's other people too. So I mean, to be fair, like even though the island kind of got burned down, we do see that it is back up and fine. So I guess given enough, I mean, it's definitely been enough time for everything to grow back. I mean, there's also that Argus prison that Slade was in. It's still on the island, so I mean, I guess that's a hospitable enough place for somebody to hide. So that could be where Williams come there to find somebody. This could be him potentially going off training, trying to become the next Green Arrow in that timeline or something like that at that point in time. Because you also got to remember this is also based off of 2049 in Legends of Tomorrow, so that's got to be something considered too. Because last time when we saw Oliver in that position, like the arm was gone, he was kind of like the only one that was around. Interestingly enough, there was the whole like, remember Palmer Tech was smoke, so that must mean at some point like Felicity came back. Maybe that's going to be something that happens at the very end of everything, or maybe that'll be something we see this season is her taking over that industry. Because like I said, that's something we've always got to keep in mind of like that it's currently where that timeline is kind of heading for Star City. Things kind of aren't really good. To be fair, my memory isn't all that clear because like that was back in season 1, but still like it kind of begs the question of like, I mean, timeline stuff is probably going to be changing too, just because of stuff going down in a flash in certain regards. So, like I said, we'll see in the end. But I am curious to see what Felicity ultimately does, and I'd assume that have something to do with it. But, yeah, like I said, a crazy and great way to start off this season. Like so many questions. Also, Oliver kind of doing what he did was pretty badass because for him, it's just kind of wiping the slate clean, all those chalk marks. Because it's like for him, it's like. I guess for him, it's almost like for now, it was him giving up. It's kind of like, it's hard to say what that can symbolize. Is that symbolizing him being like, you know what, kind of going back to being who he needs to be, like not letting people kind of push him around there in prison, even if it sets him back. He knows that they're okay for now, and Felicity's doing what she needs to do. So at the very least, you know, not completely letting the whole, like Diggle said, like not letting the place get to him. So now it's kind of like, no, I got to go back to being who I need to be. So when the time comes, I can be ready to take Diaz out himself because I need to make sure I'm there for my family. So I don't know, maybe Oliver has something planned. Like I said, I don't know whether it's just kind of like, okay, I'll start again later. I'm about to do what I'm about to do. So days without incident will start over, that type of thing. Or maybe he's just dropping it entirely. And a lot of element, we'll kind of have to wait and see. And I love him being like, you should have killed me when you had the chance. And it's like I said, I don't think he's going anywhere. So part of me also wondered, I kind of felt like this. It seemed like that might not be the case. Maybe it will be later on. But that dude, I felt like there's a part of me going like, don't tell me that dude's like a plant. Like in a sense of he was put there on purpose to kind of get Oliver's attention, make Oliver feel responsible for him, try and take care of him. And then at the last minute, the dude stabs him in the back. I mean, granted, that's something that could still happen maybe later on, but maybe not under those exact circumstances, but still. I am so very interested to see like how things unravel with this season, with everything, with this new Green Arrow, what things mean for Oliver, Felicity, what this all means with the whole like flash forward situation, what that's all going to be about. I'm very excited to see what that season has in store, but I'm also very excited to see what goes down in the next episode. But really, that's all I'm going to talk about. Until the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, love life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.